Alright, hey loves, we are back today with the Shameless Truth. We are going to be talking about a conversation that really needs to be discussed up in here in 2024. So for those of you that are new, hit subscribe below, like this video, and comment below something supportive or how you're feeling or just different things about, when it comes to child-free by choice. If you are a person that is child-free by choice and this lifestyle out there too. So one thing Kai and I have really fucking noticed is women, more so than men, get shamed. And I know gender is not binary, nothing like that. So when I say this, I am going to keep it very open-ended and just inclusive of all women, all men, all genders, everything like that. But as cisgender women, which we are talking from and speaking from that perspective here too. So just be mindful of that, boo. But we really have noticed women in general get shamed so much more for not wanting kids or children or becoming a mother. And so let's talk about this right off the bat. Like, what do you think about this? And I had the question for Poiab, like, do you think men, all men again, gender inclusive, do men get shamed for this? Because we were like, damn, if women are getting so much shame, and men have been taught and socialized not to discuss their emotions or feelings. Like, how are the men feeling out there? Do they get shamed? And so we just want to be able to put that out there for all of you. And for any men that do get shamed, I'm sending y'all a big hug and lots of love overall too. And I hope that that's not the case. I really do. So why are you child-free by choice? And how did you make this decision for yourself?
So I grew up in a very large family. I have 6 brothers, 1 sister, and I have a total of 11 nieces and nephews in total. So I always thought that I was always told and conditioned that my life was to get married, have children, and that was it. And so society, everybody told me that I should want that. And when I thought about it, I'm like, that's really tiring. You don't
want 11 kids? Well, you have 11 kids. If you can share more about that and why you say you have 11 kids too, I think that's important.
I do, yeah. So, and as I thought about it, you never found the right partner. I never found the right partner. And having kids is a huge deal. It's even, to me, having kids is bigger than getting married.
I agree.
Because kids are with you for the rest of your life. And when people casually say, oh, let's just have a kid, but we don't want to get married. I'm like, okay, that's everybody's, but I'm like, kids is forever. Yeah. Kids is forever. And I don't think people think about that. Their kids are forever and ever. And they're going to be with you. And finding the right person to have kids with is so important, and I don't think that's something that a lot of people take into consideration, because that person is going to be in your life forever. Even if you guys are not together, that person is going to be in your life forever. And if they're, I'm sorry to say this, they're an asshole or whatever, they're going to be a part of your life. So, do you, we kind of jokingly say this, do you want a Kanye in your life? Do you want a Kanye in your life? Where, yeah. And so when I thought about that, I'm like, choosing the right partner to have children with is so, so important. And how that child is brought up, what they see is very important. And I just never found the person to have children with and have that traditional life. And I thought to myself, are you actually meant to have that traditional life? Or is that what you've been told that you should want?
Yeah.
And so, going through my 30s, and this is for a lot of heterosexual women.
Yep.
I think once we hit our 30s and 40s, we have this sense of panic, like, oh my God. And I want to challenge or even ask, do you truly want kids, or is that something that you were told that you should want? And there's grief and loss and not having children. However, I grew up very different. I grew up being a caregiver. I grew up caregiving for everybody. So I feel like I've been a mother or a caregiver all my life already. That for the first time in my life, I am finally get to be the single free woman where I get to focus on myself and be here in Bali.
Yeah.
And if I had chosen a different life, would I be here? Probably not.
Yeah, those are all really great points. And I think it's so true about how people saying you should, the shame, the shame, the shame. And I think you're right that a lot of, cishet women think about like, oh my God, my body, my eggs, everything like that. And some people really do want a partner in this. And I think it's hard if you are a single parent, just in general, because there are a lot of single dads out there too. There's a lot of single moms out there, of course, and there's a lot of single grandparents who are parenting, again, because parents are not part of their kiddos' lives, and or aunts or uncles or family members, other friends, things of that sort, that people don't realize how much of a commitment it is. So it's true. And that's one of the things that my friend Laurel, I've told you about this, shout out to you, Laurel, if you're watching, but she said the same thing that you said, like, and she's a therapist too, just for context. I think at least us three, it sounds like we really are on the same page with this, in the sense of, I can't get rid of my spouse and divorce them. I can't divorce my child, right?
Yeah.
At least if you want that child to be a part of your life, and it's not an oops baby or anything like that, like, you can't get rid of them. And a lot of parents then realize, holy fucking shit, what did I get myself into? And I think that's huge. And you're right, you said, you have 11 kids, you have been a mom to each and every one of them, you have hustled them and bustled them around, and you've cooked for them, you've helped with families, you are literally showing up for like your nieces and nephews all the time. One of them has a birthday while you're here, and well, multiple family members. And that's major and big. But you're right, if you had your own child, you wouldn't have been able to come to Bali. And I think that's so valid. One of the things that I think about a lot is our careers. And I've had lots of conversations with you about this. I've had lots of conversations with my partner about it. My partner is also a therapist. Hi, babe. And I said to him, do you think if our careers were different, we would want to be parents, and because I said to him, I was like, I don't have this craving, this urge, this desire or want to be a parent. And he was like, I don't know, maybe. And then we were talking about Michael Boxall. Hi, Michael Boxall. You gave me your jersey, I got your autograph, and I took a picture with you once, and hi, Libby, and y'all's fam are fucking adorable. But I was like, because we are big Minnesota United fans and everything like that, and Libby also has her own company, and so is Michael, right? And I said to my partner, I was like, well, what if one of us was like Michael Boxall, the athlete, and like, running around and doing soccer and traveling and doing the games and stuff, and then one of them was Libby, and you were here and you were doing your business and taking care of kids, and I don't know if they have babysitters, nannies, whatever. I'm sure maybe hopefully there's community helping out with that, right? And I was like, that sounds really hard. Like you said, it's like, no, like even if one of us was like a famous soccer player and the other was a famous business owner, like I still think that would be really damn difficult. And respect to all of you that are doing all of that, because that is some tough shit and hard work, and you're fucking strong and you're fucking resilient, and that's amazing. And so one of the things I think about with my career though is I feel like I'm a mom. I feel like I'm a mom with, my clients, any type of client, coaching, therapy, consulting, spiritual wellness, like reading, a Reiki client, like an astrology birth chart. Like I feel like a mom already. And it's because a lot of people are coming to see me. And sometimes people have really shitty parents. And that's why they're working on some stuff. And I feel like some of them haven't been emotionally held and have that intimacy. And I'm that person that like does that in a very nurturing, compassionate, caring way, where I already do feel like a mom in some ways. And that's also big. And I think, you talked about you have 11 nieces and nephews. Some people don't know, and I have shared this sometimes with some clients, they know this, some don't. Like they've asked me, oh yeah, like why don't you want kids or whatever? Do you want kids or do you have kids? Like I don't know. I'm just like, no, I don't have kids and I don't want kids. Like kids are great and everything like that, but they're a lot of work. They're a lot of time. They're a lot of energy. And I I tell them, like growing up, like when I was in elementary and middle school, like on a lot of different weekends when one of my uncles remarried and had kiddos later on in life, like I was over there with my mom and my babcha, Grandma Polish, taking care of them. And sometimes it would just be me and my mom. And even when that third person was gone and away and you were taking care of 2 kids, you felt the intensity, you felt the focus. It was so extreme, and it was so like, I need to be so present here. And this was the time before like smartphones and shit, so I can just only imagine now how much harder that could be for parents or family members, even babysitters, nannies, when it comes to not being distracted and being really present with their kiddos. And so I think that that's major. And so I was just like, I've already done that, like I see my little cousins, technically I saw them as like my babies at that time too, and like I've been a mom to them, and I've shown up for them in different ways in their life that I have a big family. I don't think any other cousin was doing that. And so I was just like, I'm good. Like, I'm good on that. And quite frankly, like, I will be that cool auntie. And me and my partner have talked about this a lot of times, and we have talked about, since we lived together since 2019, oh, it would be so funny if we got a puppy or a cat or a dog or something, and we don't have no pets, because we already know like, it's a commitment. How much of a commitment that is. And like, I literally have a puppy plan note in my phone of things to think about when it comes to all of that. I'm just like, oh my God, like this is a lot to think through. Yes, and to have a plan and multiple babysitters, and where can we travel, and if we travel, like, do they allow dogs? And then that cuts down the list of places you can go. And there's a lot of bills and all these things. And so it's even like if I had a puppy and I came to Bali, like he would have to take care of the puppy, or we'd have to put it in daycare or do whatever. And so I'm just like, imagining doing that with a child is so much more, right? So it's not the best comparison, but I'm just trying to like share with people, like, I don't even think I could handle like a pet. What makes you think I could handle like a child? And I don't even know if some parents think about that too nowadays,
So we're both therapists. We work with a lot of
we are?
Apparently we are. And I work with a lot of trauma. You work with a lot of shame.
A lot of complex trauma.
Trauma. And so our work, we see a lot of behind the facade. And somebody who, Christine, I met with her, and we kind of joke, we're like the cleanup crew. Our jobs are like the cleanup crew, where we are there to help you rebuild your life after the hurricane has gone through, after the storm, and we're there to help you pick up the pieces. And we see a lot of the real things behind the perfect picture families. And so because of our work, we actually hear and see a lot of the things about what people are not willing to talk about, but put it on for a show. It's like, oh, babies, they're so cute. We love them. Yeah, they're cute. They're fucking adorable. Cute. I love my nephews and nieces. They're fucking cute, but I gladly reverse my car when it's time to leave.
reverse,
and drive off and take my 3-hour nap. And
go take my 3-hour nap. I need to go take my scheduled nap. I need to go baby myself now.
I need to take care of my baby.
Auntie's nap time.
It really is. It is.
And you do need to baby yourself.
Yeah, you do need to baby yourself. And so we see a lot of things where I think, I don't want to speak for you, but with me, I'm like, wow, there's lots of things to consider when having kids. Why are you having kids? Are you emotionally and financially, spiritually ready to have kids? Are you putting all those expectations on your kids? And again, I work with a lot of clients with 4 generations of trauma, because grandma's 90, great grandma's 90, grandma's 70, dad is 40, and the client's 20. And it's like 4 generations of trauma right there that are still alive. And it's like, when is this shit gonna stop? Where it keeps happening. And it's like, okay, honestly, some of my clients are like, they should have never had children. They should never have had me. And why am I here? Now I am here healing from 3 fucking generations of trauma that they couldn't get shit figured out. And yet here I am learning how to take care of myself and do all this. And it's like, yeah, you're right. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta, the clients and we have a very frank conversation, and they're like, I don't want kids. I don't want kids. If this is what it means, I don't want kids. I want to heal from trauma. The best thing I could do for our family line is to not have children continue on these curses and traumas.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, why do you want to bring a child into this earth if they're just going to get trauma? And, it's no coincidence why, like, Judy McCarthy wrote that book, I'm Glad My Mom Died. Like, I didn't read it. I took the spark notes in a conversation from someone else that told me about it.
Yeah.
And they basically just said, like, the book was kind of Hollywoodized in the first chunk, and you really just wanted to get to the crux of it.
Yeah.
And they just really said her mom was very mean. She had a lot of abuse. There was a lot of bad things that happened, and Judy was really grateful for that. And I think it was a book that needed to be put out there to just, like, open up this conversation of, like, wow, other people actually have had this experience too with their parent. Like, I can't believe it. Like, I can feel comfort in that. Misery loves company, and it's also sad at the same time. However, people do find healing in some of those types of books and things that hearing stories and learning, and, like, she's a fucking actress, like, and then it gives you hope and inspiration from it. So it's kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel there. One of the biggest things that you talk about, you talk about trauma a lot. Yes, work with complex trauma. Yes, we're therapists. Yes, all the things. And it made me think about how a lot of times people will come to me for sex therapy. We'll talk about different types of intimacy, and I see so many parents say, I want to give my kids the life I never had. Well, are you giving them emotional intimacy? Probably not. Are you shaming them for crying? Probably. Are you telling them to suck it up? Are you telling them to be like a strong little boy? Are you, treating your son differently versus your daughter differently? Are you inclusively and holistically parenting, and, not doing genital, aka genital reveal parties? Are you, using your child's pronouns? In Minnesota, that's actually a mandated report, and it's emotional abuse and neglect of a child. So again, parents, like, are you, emotionally being present with your kids, having hard conversations, teaching them about hard things in life, and giving them, the life skills that they can actually emotionally regulate and cope with and learn from you about. Not giving them the cell phones, not giving them the iPads, not giving them the tablets, not giving them all the things. And I think that's a big part of it. What?
No, your water was about to fall.
Okay. What are you? But so I think
windy right here.
It's windy, y'all. But no, I think that's one of my things is when I hear parents say that, people in my life, I will literally just call them out and shamelessly ask, like, well, how is your emotional intimacy with your kids? And they may not get that because they may be like, I don't have sex with my kid. Like, no, like, you're emotional. Like, do you actually talk to them about feelings? Do you teach them about different types of tools that they can use? Do you have conversations about this? Can they actually feel like they can come to you? Or are you being a parental figure that's very authoritative, gonna yell, which is trauma? That is literally complex trauma and psychological and emotional abuse. You don't need to be yelling. The only times that I tell this to clients too, only times that anybody needs to yell is in the case of an emergency or someone's leg fell off, and that second one falls into the first category. So I think that's a big part of it. And also, like, even with not assuming, like, if you have a child and not socializing them to be a certain gender is a big one, and we see that a lot. And it's just been wild over the past however many years with, like, gender reveal parties, and then how there's natural disasters happening from that, and, like, fires and shit hitting the fan. But anyway, I digress. So that's one of the things too that I think is so important for parents to really consider. If you want to have a child, will you inclusively and holistically parent them? Will you have conversations about, racism, sexism, transphobia, sizeism, genderism, parentism, all these different isms that are out there, whether or not we actually realize it, ableism, like all these things. And if you're not going to, then why are you bringing this child into this world? Like, it kind of feels like sometimes, in a way, you could be setting them up for failure.
I agree. Something that comes up a lot is, who's going to take care of you when you're old? We all heard that. Who's going to take care of you when you're old if you don't have children? I see that one
So much.
so much.
But you don't have a child to take care of you.
Yeah,
That's not what the
that's
goal
not
is.
what the goal is.
So parents, if you are thinking that out there, oh, my child's going to take care of me, and they don't even want kids, you have it twisted. So maybe think about and ask your child if they can help you with certain things, because there is that sandwich generation of people that, you know, seek help in therapy because they're so stressed because they have to take care of their kids, and then they have to take care of their parents. And they don't know how to set boundaries, have rules or conversations, or say no, or figure out financial plans and think about that in the future. And also, like, if you're taking care of yourself and your life, and if that means, like, me being child-free by choice is really taking care of myself, I'm going to be able to do that when I'm older.
Right.
And so people want to instill this fear and scarcity of, like, well, if you don't have kids, no one's going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of my damn self. I will figure it the fuck out.
Right. Yeah.
It's a big one. There's another point that I wanted to make, but it was about the emotional intimacy, and I went off on a tangent with that one. And, you know, I also think there's just a lot that people don't realize. Another piece of it was, if you are having a child and you just expect, like, your grandparents to be their babysitters or their nannies or whatever, don't expect that of your grandparents. They've already done it once. They don't want to do it twice. And I see it so many fucking times that grandparents are becoming parents again, and they don't want this.
Yeah.
And then their children get pissed and they get mad. And I think a lot of millennials do it.
Yes.
Where they have an entitlement attitude with it, and they think, well, my parents will just help me out and help me out with the kids and watch kids today or this weekend or whatever. They love children. It's like, did you ask or did you assume?
Yeah, that's a great point too. You know what it is. So I'm social worker trained. I worked with a lot of elderly, and I assure you, having kids is not assumed that your kids are going to come around. In actuality, most of them did not come around, and they were in our program, and we would talk about support and services. And sometimes the kids live 10 minutes away. I'll ask, why don't you ask? Can you ask? Not why. Can you ask your, you know, child to come and help you? And they'll say, oh no, I couldn't. My child is way too busy. They're too busy. I couldn't burden them. And so the belief that children are going to care for you is such a myth. Working at nursing homes, their children barely come and saw them maybe once a year on a Christmas or Thanksgiving. So don't rely believing that your children are going to take care of you, because I've seen people with children, often their children don't come, and you know who comes to visit them? The people with Childfree, their friends, their family, their nieces, their nephews. They have more people coming in to visit them than people who actually had children.
The child-free ones, they are the, you know, so I see it kind of like as a play. So just go with me on this one. And can you open that so I don't forget anything else? Thank you. But I kind of see it as a play. There's notes on there, and I don't want to forget everything I wanted to say, and Poiab to speak to too. But thank you. But I see it as a play. So you have, you know, your main characters that are like the performers. I see that as like the parents. Then you have the children who might be the other, you know, roles or whatever, but there's like the leading roles, and then there's the smaller parts, which might be the kids, and then there's, like, you know, the background dancers, singers, maybe the people that are, you know, right there, and potentially family member, friends, whatever. But what I think is the child-free people, the ones that are doing all the shit that you don't always see, are the ones behind the stage, like opening up the curtains, working fucking hard, making that money, going and getting groceries, bringing this person to the basketball game, sitting out there in the stands, showing up for them, and really, like, talking to kids, you know, via phone, via technology, via whatever, and doing these things. And the other thing that I think is important is, a lot of people say it takes a community. If you don't have a community for your child and you don't have around it, then plan if you actually want to have a child. Get out there in your community, make connections, because don't take a victim mentality and stance on it. Like, I don't have a community here. Create one and make one. You can create a baby, you can create a community. And then the other part, sassy, shameless truth. I think it needs to be said. the other part of that too is like also remember those single child free people, because they are also the ones that more than likely would be willing to potentially, depending on the person, drop what they're doing and come and help you. If you are in a time of crisis, are you calling those people? Sometimes, yes. And I also think because they've thought about how much work and energy it is, they also offer, I've offered a lot to be like, I'll come, watch your kiddo, burn off some energy, whatever, just let me know. And, or like, let me know if you want us to babysit, you can have a sleepover, whatever. But people don't take me up on those offers either. So parents, you also have to ask. You also need to ask the other people and not just the grandparents either, or your go-tos. And you can't be pissed and mad if you feel like no one's there for me in my child's life. No, did you ask them to? And if you didn't, and you were just putting that out there rather than having hard conversations with people, maybe you need to start doing that and changing some things up, because we tell our clients this. Have a conversation, and you need to ask, and you need to discuss this. And so I think there's a lot of, again, social media, there's a lot of posts and toxicity, even in that of like parents playing victim of like, oh my gosh, I thought this person would be here for me and my kids. What does that mean? What are you missing? Who are these people? And are you having a conversation with them? Or are you just posting on social media, playing victim, hiding behind screens and technology, and inadvertently shaming other people, whether or not they know it or realize it? And so, again, have the conversations, build the community, build the connections here as well. And remember that those child-free people, they are showing up to your baby's first birthday, your child's recitals, those performances. They're probably giving them gifts. They're probably giving you as parents gifts, giving you meals when you're home from the hospital or whatever. They are birthday gifts, diaper gifts, baby showers, all these things. And so don't forget to support them and give back to them too, because they're not having kids, but they're funding your child too and your family. And I know some of y'all might get fucking triggered at that one, but it's so damn true.
It's very true. Great points you brought up.
I'm getting fucking sassy.
And all the child-free women that I know have chosen not to have children because they have been caregivers of everything that you just mentioned. They are actually giving more of their time than the people with children. They're taking
advantage of them. Yeah. And even if they're like babysitting their kids and they're like, oh, it's only going to be like a few hours, and then it's like 4 or 5 or 6, and it's like, I have to go.
Yeah.
Like, your child's going to be by themselves then. And that's not my issue, not my monkey, not my circus, not my problem. So there's also got to be a lot of boundaries in it as well to not take advantage of those people either. Yeah. So it's a delicate dance for sure.
Yeah.
What about the part, do you think parents have privilege?
I think parents have a lot of privilege.
Yeah.
And I can give you a classic example in the workplaces.
Yeah.
In the workplaces. So before I became a business owner, I was at a hospital. Hospitals never shut down. I always, and I told you, when I finally opened my own business, was the first time ever that I had Christmas off. Like, I could take the whole week of Christmas off because it always went to people who had children.
The first time you had your own business?
Yeah.
How many years were you doing that, working for other people, not getting that time off?
2008 to 2022, 14 years. I always had to work after Christmas because everybody, it was Christmas break.
I knew that. I didn't know it was that long.
It was that long. And so people would take off who were parents would be like, well, my kids are off, so I get to take off. And so in hospitals, they're like, okay, who can work? So it would be the child-free people who would have to work because everybody else was off. Or I had to stay after because their kids were done and they're like, I have to go pick up my kid. It's like, okay. So I would have to stay. And I remember people would ask me, because I was a 0.9, meaning that I had one day off in 2 weeks. A lot of married people with kids would be like, "You're single. Why do you need a day off?"
So much shame.
Again, this was like very
you're
Midwest.
In the background. You're a background worker taking care of everybody
right. Like, well, what? You don't need a day off. You know, you don't have kids. Why do you need a rest? I'm like, because I need a rest. It's because I don't have kids.
For my mental health.
I can get to rest. So I got a lot of that in the workplace.
Yeah.
Where I would have to stay later because parents had to go, or if there were things that needed to be done, I had to stay, or if there was an emergency with a client, I had to stay because parents had to leave and pick up the kids. So sometimes there'll be 4, 5, 6 that I would still be working in the hospital, discharge planning. So when I finally got my own business, I'm like, I will never work the week after Christmas again because it's slow. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, Jackie, I think this is the first time. So it took me 14 years to finally have the week of Christmas off. Even Fridays after Thanksgiving, I had to work those shifts too. Yeah.
It's such bullshit.
Yeah, most of the people that had kids would take it off. So it was like, okay, you don't have kids, so you will work this day. So yeah, so there's a lot of privilege in parents in the corporate or just in the workplace in general. Yeah. What about you? What do you notice?
Well, you know me, I pick up on shame like it's nobody's fucking business. So there's a lot with parent privilege. Like when, I've been traveling this year for work, business stuff, whatever. Yeah. And I've heard other people comment on, oh, those parents deserve a break so much. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Because they're parents. And it's interesting is there's been a lot of women business owners who also have kids. Multiple of them have told me it's harder owning a business than it is having a child. Because you are doing it all on your own. You're a single parent of your business if you're a solopreneur.
Yeah.
So I see the privilege of a lot of people getting with kids help from family members. They get money. They get money for their kids. They get money. They get parties. Yeah. They get help from them with the sense of, let me take this on for a couple hours. I mean, and not to say I can't hire people on, I can. And at certain points in time when you're growing your business, the money's not there right away.
Yep,
right?
exactly.
To be honest, shameless truth. It's not always there for a lot of solo entrepreneurs right away. And so grandparents or community members or people that are parents, they don't realize how much of a privilege that is. And then I'm here listening to them bitch and complain about that friend, that family member, that aunt, that uncle, that cousin, that sibling, that mom, that dad, that in-law that went to help and they didn't do it absolutely perfectly. I'm like, do you realize how much fucking shit they are doing for you? Like, I don't have time to listen to this. Like, you don't get to complain to me about this. Like, I am literally doing 100% of my life on my own. Granted, I have a partner, and I know I have partner privilege with bills and such, too. So I'm not going to skim over that and say anything there, right? Pay would be like, girl, fuck off.
I don't have a partner. Everything is on my own.
She'd be like, are you serious, Jackie? So like, no, I don't. I do have that privilege and I do recognize it. Yeah. When it comes to my business, that is my baby. And my parents aren't coming over to take care of my baby. My partners, in-laws aren't coming over to take care of my baby. Nobody's taking care of my baby. And that's not victim mentality. That is just the shameless truth of I chose this hard. Parents, you chose that hard. So check your motherfucking privileges. I will check mine like I just did here too. Yeah. And, I think be grateful with that. And I don't mean that in a shaming way. Like, you should be grateful that you have really, truly, genuinely be grateful that you have parents that want to help, because some people's parents aren't here. Yeah. Some are gone, some are dead, some are out of their lives. Yeah. And that is one of the things that I just don't understand. Why do you want to bitch and complain about this and maybe have a conversation with them? Like, people just need to have a fucking conversation with people. Yeah. And for those of you that aren't from Minnesota, we are a very passive aggressive state, and it's
we
a lot of shit
are.
talking behind people's back. Like, I don't know if that's just Minnesota or the Midwest. Like, comment below, but we are not strictly like New York where it's aggressive, and we are not strictly like California where it's very passive. We are also, we get pockets of very non-assertive people. I'm not going to say anything. But then we get people who are super aggressive and have anger issues. And so I'm just like, don't use that as a excuse not to have a conversation, because you can say this shit to me and not to this other person. Then what does that say about you and your relationships with people? So full circle. Yes, there's a lot of parenting privilege. Absolutely. Tax write-offs as well.
Yes.
Big ones. I would assume I haven't looked at that for fun. I haven't researched that. But I mean, it's a tax write-off as well. And, you know, your kids, that's like 18 years. If you have 18 years of birthday parties and, you know, I'm invited to attend and you have multiple kids, that's more money that your kid is really receiving from a lot of the community. I have my business for, it'll be 3 years in October. My first year, I threw my party and I had to pay for it all, which I'm grateful. I got to pay for it all. I shouldn't say had, or I could say, you know, I got to pay for it all, which I'm very grateful. I'm very blessed. I'm very everything. And people almost didn't really see or recognize how big of a deal that is to open a business in a pandemic at age 29 before you're 30 and do it your own shameless way and be your authentic self. And so I think when people don't understand like how different that is and how different that might be from the traditional route of Minnesota culture, marry your sweetheart in high school or college, do the wedding, do the thing, move in together, buy a house, have a dog, have a cat, have a kid, have another kid, whatever. It's just
at 30.
Like, yes. People don't realize or they don't know how to like react to me sometimes with that. So
very shameless.
Yes, very shameless. And it's also interesting too. Parents have privilege because people will ask about their babies. People don't ask me about my baby. I have a baby.
Yeah. How's like little, Juliet? They never ask, how's your business?
They never ask, how's Shameless? What's the cool thing that you're doing this week? Because I can't catch up. I want to catch up. Right? Yeah. They don't ask me, why'd you go to Peru? Why'd you go to Bali? Or how come you didn't tell me that you go to Bali? Well, you don't ask me this stuff, so you don't get that privilege as much. You ask me about it. Let's see how this relationship is. Right. Because a lot of times there's this, I see it going like this, when, you have a partner, if you have the kids, you get the house, you get the dog, you get the whatever, and then you have a child. It's just like, that's all I see parents zone in on.
It's very narrow.
And they don't know how to relate to other people, and they don't know how to have their own identity outside of their children. And that's also hard because then they also have to expand their horizons a little bit to relate to other people. Yeah. And so I think a lot of times too, I've gotten a lot of, parenting shame of like, or people just assuming me, not asking, assuming, oh, you'll understand when you're a mother. I got that from my mom. You know, you said it, Mom.
One day you'll understand.
And this is not to shame you. Yeah. And it's just one of those things where we hear it from the people closest to us sometimes. And so I just want to put it out there. Like, you don't have to take that from anybody. And, or assuming other things that you'll understand when you're a mom, or people saying like, oh, when you have kids, it'll be so great, and then our kids can get. I'm like, you didn't even fucking ask.
You'll change your mind, Jackie.
Yeah, no, I won't. I haven't yet. I'm good.
You'll change your mind.
I'm already a mom. We are also moms, and that was one of the best things I heard at a networking event, because we went around the circle and these moms were talking about like their kids and stuff. Yeah. And this one person, she was like, oh yeah, like, child be free by choice. And I also say, don't forget about us, because I am a mom too. We are helping you. And so there's like this, we've talked about ego in a different episode. Yeah. I think there's an ego with being a parent sometimes. Yeah. And I think there needs to be lots of ego deaths sometimes with parents. And I think parents also need to learn how to let go of their children sometimes too, and like take back also like other things that they want to do in their life and give back to themselves, because your child's going to see that. And like my parents growing up, they had like 6 W-2s between the two of them to support our family, and I saw that. I was like, I don't ever want to do something like that. I want to follow my passion. My work is something that I love doing, and I want to be able to still have time for, you know, my hobbies, my Minnesota United games. I want to meditate. I still want to do tarot. I still want to do energy reads. I want to paddleboard. I want to be able to give that time to me. And I think being child-free by choice is really a gift to yourself if that's what you feel so inclined to do. And people may not understand that, and they don't have to.
They don't have to. Yeah, I agree. I think you said a lot of really valid points. And one of the things when you said was, I think there's such a tunnel vision once you become parents, and I get it. Having kids is hard. I get it. And then they also get to say, well, we're just so busy with the kids. We don't know anything. So, you know, it's very like our kids are our lives, our world, and I get it. And then they don't have other relationships, and yet we, as single people, are supposed to wait around for them.
Yes, and then we suffer. Yeah. You know this. I lost multiple friends, ambiguous loss, when they became parents. And that was like, like people I would text with or people that I would previously see a lot. And it was like right when they became a parent, that's when our relationship changed. And then there's also people who are parents that do try to talk to me back and forth, whatever. But I'm like, if you don't have this time and energy for me, I don't feel obligated to reply to you right away. So I'm going to just match energies with that. And you said something about a friend of yours. May I share? Do you want to share that? Do you know what I'm talking about? 18 years.
For 18 years. Okay, go ahead.
So Poiab told me this story once about how she had this friend who I think is also child-free by choice, or maybe didn't want kids. And she said she noticed that, you know, once the kids got to be 18 years old and they were empty nesters and they go to school or do jobs or move out or whatever, that's when all these friends started coming back around and reaching out. Like, oh my gosh, how are you? And she was like, you don't just get to fucking come back into my life at that point in time. Hell no. You don't get to know what I'm doing, be around me, and surround yourself with my energy. Like, you missed an opportunity on a really good person here. And I'm like, that's what I get to remember. It was such a helpful story, because I was like, that's so true.
That's true.
And I love myself. I know I'm the shit. And like, you don't just get to come, and I say that with clients, like, you don't just get to come in and out of my schedule whenever you want to please, and I don't do drive-through therapy where you get your good nuggets and then you leave. Like, we have to be consistent here, and that's with my relationships in my life too. Like, you don't just get to come and go through the drive-through when you please, like when it's convenient for you, because I'm not a convenience, honey.
We're not a convenience store. We're not 7-Eleven. We're not that.
No.
And, you know, we've moved on. You've moved on too. You can't come back to us because now you have time, or you're divorced now, your kids are grown, and you forgot about us in the process. And it's nothing like, hey girl, how are you? It's like, who is this? No. You don't get to do that. And we moved on. We've created lives for ourselves. We're not an afterthought. And a lot of people think that because we are child-free, that we're an afterthought, that we should stand around, wait around for other people because they have lives and we don't have lives.
Yeah, no, we definitely have lives. We're in fucking Bali, y'all.
Yeah, we're fucking Bali. You know, we're fucking Bali.
And I think that's another thing where a lot of parents might see this, that we record this in Bali, and they might think, must be nice. No, we work for this just like you work for your babies, just like you work in your careers, just like you work in your life. And if that's a thought that you have, you really have a lot of personal growth and work to do on yourself, especially if it's a shameful thought coming in your mind right away. And I think a lot of parents do maybe envy, like, oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I could travel. I wish I could fly across the world, but I have a newborn baby, or I have a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, or whatever. And some parents will and try to do that. And also, I would encourage parents to also be mindful of, when I used to work with teens and dancers, I had a lot of dancers as clients. They were so fucking over-programmed. So there has to be such a balance. And I think that's a big one. Like that, I think really what it comes down to, you and I have thought so much and long and hard about this. And we have decided for ourselves individually why we don't want to be child-free. And a lot of it is because you have so much that you have to think about and do. And that's one of the things when I'd be working with clients and they would be dancers, they would have waking up for therapy morning before school, and then they'd go to school all day, and then they'd go to first dance right away, and then they'd go to second dance right away, and then they wouldn't get home until like 11 or 12 o'clock at midnight, and by that time
a
they're
school
tired,
night,
and they would still be doing homework, and so they're just exhausted. And so I also like challenge parents too to not always be doing stuff. And if you are, and you are just going to a beach day or something like that, and you still want to maintain relationships with other single, child-free people in your life, call them up, ask them. Don't breadcrumb them though, and say we should do this, and then never reach out because you have a kid. If you can be on social media and technology, you can text your friends back.
You can definitely, and because of that schedule, I think they have the entitlement of like, well, I can breadcrumb because my schedule is more important. You can accommodate me because I'm so much busier with my children. And so again, there's an entitlement of the schedule of using children as a scapegoat on why you don't have to keep in connections with friends who are child-free or who have a different life.
Do you think it's just a Minnesota thing like that, or do you think it's across the United States or other countries?
You know, I think it's across the United States, but I think in the Midwest, we are still very traditional with values. And so, and you mentioned the passive aggressiveness, and it's like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I don't have time. We're still very, we're very, like you said, high school, married. So a lot of it is sticking to what you know. It's not expanding. And question, do you feel like they don't know what to do with child-free women, especially child-free women?
It's like, what don't you know what to do? I like doing the same things as you. Like, bring your kid along. Like, it'll be fun. Like, I will go make a sandcastle with your child and, like, starfish at the beach. Like, I will go put them on my paddleboard. Like, I will go and, like, watch a movie and have, like, a slumber party with your kid and play board games and get them all the snacks that you may not like. But I'll try my best to be, like, respectful of your boundaries and everything, right? And the rules. And if your kids can't have something, like, I get it. Kids are also hyped up on certain things and have allergies, totally, right? So no, I think you're right. Like, they don't know what to do with us, but it's like, literally just invite us, or just think of us, and don't say like, I'm thinking about you, and then end it. Like, no, say, hey, I'm thinking about you, and I really, I watched your episode, Patty and Jackie, and I would really love to get together with you soon, because I realized maybe I haven't been a good friend. Like, own your fucking shit. Own it. Like you say.
Own it.
And I think they don't know how to talk to us. And I think if you don't know how to talk to your friends because you've become a parent, then maybe you need to go to relationship coaching and learn some skills. Or counseling or therapy if there's something from the past that's been holding you back, to figure out why, if there's some sort of thing at a subconscious level that you don't know about. However, like, work on it then, and that friend, like, if they haven't been a part of your life for a while, and you're wondering why, maybe ask rather than assume, and don't shut the door on them to have a conversation. And it's one of those things where the longer that time goes by, like, the further and further apart that friendship is going to be, and it's not even going to be there anymore. It's not a friendship, it's not a relationship. It's like Justin Timberlake song, "The Old Me Is Dead and Gone," and with that person too. So did I answer your question?
I did. You did. That's great. And there's more and more that are going to be child free. I read that by 2030, 50% of women are going to be child free, and so there's going to be a lot of us.
Really? Wow. Why was that? Did they say, or just more people are saying they don't want to be moms?
I think,
or trauma.
I think, we live in a very busy, chaotic world, and having kids takes a lot of emotional work. And traditionally, in heterosexual relationships, traditionally, we do a lot more of the work, like emotionally. We do a lot of like we're working, and then to come home and take care of kids, a household. It's a lot of work, and a lot of women are asking, "Is it worth it? Is it worth my mental health? Is it worth it?" And I think we saw a lot of our mothers, especially millennials, our mothers and grandmothers, and we're asking ourselves, "Is that what we want?" We have choices. We realize that we do have choices now.
We definitely do have choices, yeah. And that's such a great point, and that's so interesting. And a lot of women are saying no and saying yes to themselves, and it's very empowering.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women who are parents and have children don't maybe know how to handle it because it could be happening more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
And again, you're right. Like you said something too about in the past when we've talked about these conversations. May I share?
Yeah, go ahead.
You've said you have seen so many women trying to figure out and decide whether or not they actually want to have a baby. And they've had partners, or maybe they didn't have a partner, and more so cis-het relationships. And you've mentioned, I've seen women give up their life.
Yeah.
And they are doing it all. And you don't have to do it all.
You don't have
and I
to.
think that's a really hard thing for women to maybe hear sometimes too. Especially if they feel like even though I'm married or I have a partner, or whatever, like I still am doing it all. Or if they, had a baby and it was like they don't have a partner or something like that, they still had a baby or they adopted or they went through IVF and they like are still doing it all. Like that's fucking hard, and like you don't have to do it all by yourself.
You don't.
And what does that say if you feel like you do?
If you feel like you have to do it all, I mean, do you have the right person? Do you have the right partner? If you are doing this with a partner, do you have the right partner? Build your support system. I mean, as therapists, I work with a lot of women who come to me and ask, do I actually want kids? I'm like, that's a great question. Do you want kids? My mom and my husband wants kids, but I don't want kids. I'm like, well, tell me. Tell me, what are your reservations? And they know my life will change. My life will change no matter how supportive my partner is, my spouse is. My life will change because it's my body. Everything's going to change for me. Everything's going to change for them. Again, this is in heterosexual relationships.
Yeah.
The woman knows that they feel like everything's going to fall on them.
That's why it's such a big decision.
That's why it's such a big decision. And a lot of them are contemplating, do I actually want children? I feel like I should have children because my spouse or somebody or his parents want, and they said that they will help out. And yeah, I know deep down. And so this is such an important conversation to have. Because once you do have kids, your life will change. And is that something that you are ready for or not? And if not, it's okay to be true to yourself.
Yeah, and don't let anybody like tell you what to do and make the best decision for you. What do you think about like moms or dads that are single parents, by choice, or they're adopting, or like single parents by choice, like they could be adopting, they could have been, a parent die or parents die, and then they're like the next person in line, and like they're in people's wills and stuff like that, like that movie, or when I say adopt, IVF, parents die, things like that. Like, what do you think about that?
Being a single parent for that?
Yeah, and like people just doing it, or maybe feeling like they like left me with this child as their responsibility, so I have to do it all by myself, or I chose to adopt this child, by myself, so I have to do it by myself, or I chose to go through IVF and I have to do this by myself. What are your thoughts on that?
You don't have to do anything yourself. Have a support system. And ask yourself, like, if you're adopting or IVF, again, I work with a lot of generational trauma, and I would ask, do you actually want a child, or are you doing this because you're missing something? You're wanting this child to complete your life because you feel incomplete. And you're putting that responsibility on that child.
Yeah.
And that's so important. And now I've worked with a child who's now like 20, or it's like I was a single, my mom was single parent, and they were missing a part of their life, and now I'm supposed to fill whatever it is that they're missing.
Yeah, so if they were missing something in like their childhood or like in their adolescence, teenage years, adult life, later on, like if they were missing a parent, if they were missing a spouse,
love,
if they were missing a partner, if they were missing friends, and then it's like putting pressure on the kid to be like, you weren't gonna love me no matter what.
Yeah, I didn't get that love, so I'm gonna put all my love, and you're gonna love me, and so it's like
it's not a pressure to put on a kid.
If you want to adopt IVF, please do it, but really make sure you are emotionally, spiritually, psychologically healthy on your reasons of wanting to have that child, and not just doing it because you're hoping that child will complete you.
Yeah, and I would add financially and sexually healthy too.
Yes, financially, sexually.
So it's all connected.
Holistically, everything. Yeah.
That's so interesting. And had you said something and then I'm losing what I was going to say, so I used to love it when that happens. But no, so it's like filling some sort of void that they didn't have in their life that maybe they saw other people had and it affected them. And that's a lot of pressure to put on a child that you're bringing into this world. My nail artist, Marissa, hi Mars, if you're on or if you ever watched it, shout out to you. She brought up a great point with a conversation that she was talking to someone else about, and her and I've had this conversation too multiple times, and she said, someone phrased it to her, do you want a child or do you want to be a parent? Because that's different. I was like, that's a really great question. So maybe that's something for people to reflect on, especially with what you said with the dynamic of, well, my mom does and my spouse does. Well, of course they do.
It's easy for them.
Yeah. And so it's like, but do you want the child? Do you want a child, or do you want to be a parent? So it's much, much different.
And what would you say most people would say?
They want a child.
They want a child.
They don't want to be a parent.
No.
Because, again, I said that in that other episode. If you had a childhood, you probably should go to therapy. Was a meme and a quote. And so it's just a lot. And there's a lot of a lack of emotional intimacy with parenting because parents will do what their parents did, or they'll try to be so far the opposite where you really have to strike that balance between everything as well. And that can be really hard. And that is why we have to be like so mentally on and focused. And quite frankly, like we have had to read so much, y'all, on like child psychology, on attachment, on relationships, on research, and learn these different things. And so I think one of the biggest things is if you want to be a parent, like you need to read. You need to read, you need to learn, and you need to learn from people in the psychology field because they weren't researching this shit for no reason.
Right.
And attachment is so real that, you know, I'm going to be debunking some myths here, so y'all might get triggered. Put hashtag triggered in the comments if you are. But, like, sleep training doesn't work. It's a scam. They're babies. There's no method to the madness. And so people will just scam parents out of their money, put them in sleep training, and it's a placebo effect. So that's one. Attachment. Babies cannot self-soothe. Like Mary Ainsworth and John Bowlby, look up the monkeys research if you want to look into that. But babies cannot self-soothe. So the cry it out method does not actually work for lung development. Doctors would say that back in the day. Have your baby cry it out because it's lung development and babies need to self-soothe. No, it's a fucking myth. Pick up your baby, right to right brain, hold them this way, emotional regulation. It's a fucking baby. Like some adults can't even emotionally regulate, so you need to be the person to fucking teach your child how to do that. Otherwise they're probably going to need to seek therapy or counseling for that later on. Probably you, because why aren't you talking about emotions with your child? Teaching them how to self-soothe and regulate. So that's a big ass myth there too. Parenting myths as well, like thinking that everyone is just going to drop everything for you and your family, and you have to learn to have conversations, really navigate certain boundaries, and really compromise with people and communicate with people. So parents, if you are struggling like mentally and emotionally, please don't use your mental health as an excuse. Get it. Yes, we all have mental health. Yes, we all have different types of diagnoses, and if they are impacting you so much to where it's impacting the relationship with your child and your ability to a parent, maybe don't be a parent.
Yeah.
Any other ones you want to throw out there?
I think that's a great list. I can't think of anything on the top of my head, but I think that's
really
a great list.
And research.
Yeah, really research. Yeah.
And be careful of who you're trusting with these research and parenting things out there nowadays compared to who's actually in the field of psychology versus who's a parenting helper or a parenting coach. Do they have background in psychology of years of study and education? Because a lot of people will just come in and, you know, take one thing that they learn and then coach that person on it or family member on it or whatever, and they may not even have done any of the research themselves. You know, like, it can be a scam, and therapists also get scammed too. So that's why we have to read and research so much about things, and even our businesses or things that we choose to invest in our lives. And we catch people. we catch people in their checks. So just be very mindful of all of that.
No, that was a great list.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts about child-free women or just being child-free in general?
I think we covered a lot of ground.
We did.
Child-free women, child-free by choice, you know, parenting, parents' boundaries, compromise, conversation, culture, isms, holistic parenting, myth-busting. I think we talked a lot today. And again, if you are a child-free person who's feeling lost, who's feeling behind, I assure you, you're not. Find the community to really support you. Find other child-free people and, connect with them. And work on yourself. Continue to work on yourself. Always work on yourself. Ask yourself these questions. And, you know, I think I talked about this at the beginning, grief and loss. That's something to acknowledge and talk to a therapist. Like, I had this dream of having, you know, the picket fence life, and now I realize that I'm not. And so we'll talk to someone about the grief and loss and that. So just as much as Poiab said, like, parents get a supportive community, child-free people out there get a supportive community. It's going to be so important for you, and it's okay to talk about these things too. And quite honestly, like, Poiab and I, we do events in Minnesota, and we've done events for women specifically, and we have big dreams that we just want to be able to get people together that just feel kind of like there's not a safe space for them or a group for them, and we don't know where that's going to go in the future. We've had a lot of conversations. Poiab wants to come back to Bali. Want to come to Bali with us? Definitely go to my website, shamelesstherapy.org, and sign up for the newsletter if you want to know about that, because we will be hosting retreats in the future, and we really want to be intentional about, you know, we don't want people to shame. We want people to share. We want people to feel comfortable and to not have to think about, wow, like, am I going to get judged or criticized if I go on this retreat and I don't have kids? Because I don't want to speak for you. I felt that way in going to certain types of community, even networking groups. And that's not fun. And that's not a fun place to be. So this is the Shameless Truth today. If you stuck around with us, thank you so much. This was a much needed conversation, I think, for a lot of people out there. If you are wanting to ask us a question, comment below. Be supportive, yo. We ain't got no time for haterade out there. We don't drink that. But definitely like this video. Send it to a friend that might need to see it. Listen in. Come back to it when you feel uncomfortable, or like you just need, you know, someone to have your back. We have your back in the situation, and we have everyone's back in the situation. We just wanted to share just this side and some perspectives and some things to just be mindful of all the people out there too who are parents as well and are still child-free by choice. Okay, so thank you all for being here. Hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, And bye from Bali.
All right, own it.
Stay shameless.